Hey, this is King Jimmy Un-Author-ized, and I just wanted to tell you that almost everything you've probably ever thought about being a leader, well, it's probably wrong. And I find it very interesting in all the conversations and all the leadership theory out there, both in the corporate world and the church. Not too many people actually turn to the pages of the gospel and see what Jesus actually had to say on the topic of leadership. We turn to all sorts of other pages in the Bible, but we actually ignore the first and primary teachings of Christ, the few teachings of Christ actually on the topic. And I'd like to take a second right now and read the only two passages in all of the Gospels in which Jesus directly talks about the topic of leadership. The first passage comes from Matthew 23, 6 through 12, in which Jesus says, "For they love the place of honor and banquets and chief seats in the synagogues and respectful greetings in the marketplaces, and being called rabbi by men. But do not be called rabbi, for one is your teacher, and you are all brothers. Do not call on anyone on your earth father, for one is your Father, he who is in heaven. Do not be called leaders, for one is your leader, and that is Christ. But the greatest among you shall be your servant, and whoever exalts himself shall be humbled, and whoever humbles himself shall be exalted." The second passage comes from Luke 22, 25 through 27, which Jesus said, "And he said to them, the kings of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who have authority are called benefactors. But it is not to be this way among you. But the one who is the greatest among you must become like the youngest, and the leader like the servant. For who is greater, the one who reclines at the table or the one who serves? It is not the one who reclines at the table, but I am among you as one who serves." And those are the only two passages in all the gospel in which Jesus directly talks about the topic of leadership. Yet those very passages, which are crucial to the message of Christ, somehow imaginally get left out of leadership book after leadership book, interestingly enough, even among the church. Instead, we prefer to turn the pages back to the Old Testament to individuals like Moses and Joshua and David and all sorts of other great leaders and the Old Testament and people that we're supposed to look up to as role models and examples of faith and what it means to be a leader, not only in the world but in the church. But I think, at the end of the day, this is the wrong idea. I find it very interesting in the two passages we just looked at, in which Jesus talked about leadership. Jesus condemned the idea of thinking about yourself as a leader. He says, don't allow individuals to call you a leader. He explicitly forbids the idea. Instead of taking up the identity as a leader or a servant leader, as is so commonly in vogue to say in such cliche leadership books as you often see out there, instead of identifying ourselves in any way, in any capacity as leaders, we need to think of ourselves simply as individuals who are servants. But that probably wouldn't sell many books, and that probably wouldn't get a lot of people out to a lot of conferences. Learn how to be a butler would not be packing out the local church hall. It would not be on a bestseller list anywhere, anytime soon. So instead of thinking of ourselves as leaders and individuals who identify as ourselves as leaders, we need to think, according to Jesus, as individuals who are not leaders, but we need to think of ourselves as individuals who are simply there to help serve. We need to think of ourselves first and foremost as servants, never as leaders. Instead of thinking of leaders as individuals who are bosses that throw their weight around and get things done, Jesus asks us to come to the table as individuals who are ready and willing to serve. Instead of telling others what needs to be done, we show up asking, what can we do to help? Instead of thinking of ourselves as leaders who cast vision and enlist the troops to storm the gates of hell with us and to accomplish great things, we need to instead think of ourselves as individuals who are there to equip and empower other people to be whatever it is that God has called them to be, and not to enlist them in our army and our crusade and our cause and our purpose, but to help them discover what God has put them here for and help empower them and equip them to become whatever it is that God has set in their hearts to do. That is what Jesus has called us to do. And instead of asking individuals to submit to us and to be loyal to us and to commit themselves to us as quote unquote leaders, or really servants, we need to be individuals who are committed to others, who are loyal to others, who are there for the sake of others instead of looking at others as being there for the sake of us. So everybody, this is Jimmy. I hope you've enjoyed this short video on leadership. I hope you've been blessed by it. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment below. Tell me what you feel. Tell me what you think. I'd love to hear back from you. Have a good day.